the identity, the authentication, attestation, governance, guardrails, the entire control plane for agentic AI is, in essence, really undefined right now. Hi, everyone. I'm Nick Lippis on the Build for Trust podcast. We're going to start to inject kind of a little different format. So mostly we've been doing interviewing, which frankly I really love doing. I get to really meet a lot of the folks within our community and share that with all of you. And we also get to know a little bit more about their companies and what they're doing from a business point of view and also personally. So anyway, it's been a lot of fun, and we've hit over 2 million impressions. It took us about 18 months to get to 1 million and about 6 months or so to get to 2 million. So now we have wages, I don't know about how long it's going to take us to get to 3 million. So I'm betting 3 months. So we'll be back and report on that. But in this new format, this is really just going to be, I didn't know what to call it, and I never really liked those kind of letters that you would get from an editor, like back in the 80s, like the view from here or from the desk of, what have you. So I don't really kind of like the naming of that, but it's kind of in that kind of context. It's that I'm very fortunate. I get to talk to a lot of IT executives because, that's who our community is made up of. I also get to talk to a lot of the vendor community as well. And so I thought what we do is spend just a few minutes every once in a while just talking about, I think, maybe some of the major observations, that I'm starting to see across the industry. So I thought I'd start with, we're building the spring program for the AI Networking Summit, and what we always realize during that, so that process is it's a pretty intense process. We make a lot of invitations for people to speak, and what we find is that on the large enterprise side, either folks are, if they're doing really big kind of AI deployments, they don't want to say anything because it's competitive advantage, and so they want to keep that quiet. They don't want to share, or they're being restricted from their legal department or from their corporate communications department to share. So that limits our kind of ability to kind of like share with everyone, like what are some of the bigger deployments. So it's either that or, there's folks that are still in the thinking process, right? They're trying to understand where the value proposition is and which places to apply. And so I think we're doing a really good job. We're going to have a lot of really great content in the springtime come up. But I think one of the things that I'm walking away with is that there are certain companies that are really kind of AI first, and a lot in the financials are. So you look at all the major banks, a lot of them are all in. You look within the pharmaceutical companies, a lot of them are all in. But the only thing that what's split there in the pharmaceutical space is that there are those who are relying almost, I'd say 90%, on cloud-based AI, whether that's Gemini or OpenAI or XAI or what have you, Claude. Yeah, so like some of them are really kind of leveraging that, and there are others who are really just building a lot of that infrastructure. So they have GPUs and a lot of AI infrastructure, and we see the same thing in healthcare, especially in the big research institutions, whether that's Moffitt in Florida, or whether it's Anderson in Houston. Clearly, there's Memorial, Kettering in New York, and many, many others. And then there's a big gap, and there's a lot of folks who are still struggling with, what do we do? Where do we first attack it? There's a lot of concern around The GPU progression is so fast. They're concerned that if they deploy something today, it would be antiquated within 18 months. It seems like, Google Gemini, I thought, answered that question where a lot of their older GPUs are still running, at extremely high utilization. So it's not like they were, for naught, it's not like dark fiber where, it's like the service providers put dark fiber into the ground and it was dark. It wasn't being used. So there wasn't any return on that investment. And that's one of the reasons why we saw such a big internet bust in 2000, 2001. So we don't have that in the AI space, but there is that concern amongst many in the large enterprise. Clearly, power consumption is another major concern, and then cost of the products themselves, because most of these products, AI infrastructure products, they're extremely expensive, and they're going into hyperscalers who have massively large budgets, and it directly has a direct impact onto their business. And I think there's a lag there within the large enterprise. So I think that's a big gap within kind of from enterprises being kind of AI first enterprises, and there are enterprises that are still trying to sort out and answer these key questions around AI infrastructure. Now, there's also another movement that's happening in the industry, and that's there are many of the existing suppliers that are in the industry that are now starting to address that gap by making products more affordable or really tailoring AI infrastructure products for the large enterprise. And so let me give you maybe a couple of examples of like some announcements. Like Palo Alto Networks, they integrated Zero Trust into AI infrastructure via NVIDIA's Enterprise AI Factory. So let me read you this and then I'll give you my take on it. So Palo Alto Networks announced that its Prism Airs, a security platform accelerated on NVIDIA Bluefield GPUs, is now a validated part of the NVIDIA Enterprise AI Factory architecture. So that's embedded runtime zero trust at the hardware layer while offloading security processing without hurting performance. This signals a shift towards embedded security earlier in AI infrastructure design, which matters for open security engineers tasked with protecting AI-driven workloads at scale. So clearly, for many in the under community who know Palo Alto and know Prisma, in particular, this is a kind of good news for them because it provides something that is well known to them and injects that into their AI infrastructure. So that's one example. Another example, like F5. So F5 expands into AI security protections and multi-cloud network challenges. So they recently, F5's recent platform extensions tackle AI security threats and multi-cloud operations, including runtime protection from prompt injection and jailbreak attacks and AI-powered vulnerability discovery. This reflects an emerging category of AI-centric network and application security that engineers, engineers must not do anything, but engineers must plan for when securing AI services across hybrid environments. I think the thing that I find really interesting about that is that I'm not sure how much of the F5 announcement of that platform extension has to do with agentic, but it's a huge problem within the agentic ecosystem, and that is security. And so, prompt injection is an issue. Jailbreaks, attacks are an issue. The identity, the authentication, attestation, governance, guardrails, the entire control plane for agentic AI is, in essence, really undefined right now. So I think the more that we see companies like Palo Alto and also F5 get into this marketplace is, I think, a really good thing for the enterprise marketplace in particular. So one more. So Cisco, I got to say, Cisco has been all over this space. And I think, the market has responded. I think, they've kind of exceeded, kind of all-time high on their stock valuation as of late. But Cisco, okay, bellwether of enterprise infrastructure, has recently surfaced multiple updates around secure networking, AI readiness, and infrastructure innovation, reaffirming its pivotal role in the AI era for enterprise networking teams. This ongoing wave of announcements points to where enterprise network architecture is heading and what skills and technology engineers should be watching. So I think Cisco, really under the leadership, I think, of Tom Gillis, has been pretty amazing over the last at least 12 months. Just a slew of new products and a real new pivot around making sure that that when you're building AI infrastructure, there's going to be a Cisco play within that. That's both within the data center, it's in the wide area, it's also within the security platforms that they offer as well. Cisco is really kind of all over this space, and so I anticipate that they'll continue to do really well in the marketplace. But I think that's one of the key things that I was mentioning earlier on, and that is that the existing suppliers that have been in the enterprise marketplace for a long time are now repackaging and reapproaching the marketplace with enterprise-ready AI. Maybe just two more here. Fortinet and Arista, joint solution for secure AI data centers. So Fortinet and Arista Networks launched a collaborative solution combining high-speed networking with advanced security for AI data centers, already deployed at monolithic power systems, so just a customer reference. This integrates secure access service edge, or SASE, with AI workloads. For engineers, this simplifies deploying AI in production by addressing GPU cluster security and real-time threat protection, helping bridge networking silos with security to support scalable enterprise AI without compromising performance or exposing vulnerability. So just like before, where we had the Palo Alto announcement and the F5 announcement, this one with Fortinet and also with Arista is that one thing that's been for sure in the marketplace today has been the acceleration of networking and security, and how they are becoming more intrinsically integrated into the overall enterprise AI fabric. So a good announcement from Fortinet. And then I think I'm just going to leave with one. There's been a surge in Ethernet switch demand for AI workloads. So the global Ethernet switch market grew 35% in late 2025, driven by hyperscalers building high bandwidth, low latency networks for AI, with forecasts of 10% IT spending increases in 2026. So two different things here, right? So one is Ethernet market growing, and the other thing is that forecast for 2026 of IT spending is an increase of 10%, which would bring IT spending to about $6 trillion worldwide. So the boom affects enterprise infrastructure by pressuring networks to evolve for distributed AI, including hybrid multi-cloud strategies. Security and network engineers should prepare for AI-optimized fabrics with observability and automation to manage traffic spikes and ensure zero trust enforcement in AI-heavy setups. So I think that's actually a really interesting observation about kind of like how kind of the overall market is approaching. So that little blurb kind of concatenated a couple of things in there. So Ethernet switch market increasing, IT spending increasing next year, like 10%. And then also how the infrastructure is getting AI ready, and how we might start to really just see some very different traffic patterns because of AI workloads. So I think the whole concept around enterprise AI fabrics is a really important one, because I think it tries to put into context all of these dynamics that are happening with us as we kind of move heavily into kind of the AI era. So let me stop there, and thank you all for listening. Now remember, we have the AI Networking Summit, happening in kind of Fresco, Dallas area, and that's May 13th and 14th. So make sure you go up to the onoob.net site, get your tickets, love to see you there. There are going to be so many great people, there are a lot of, the content is just going to be our best that we ever put on before. So get your tickets. We'll see you there, and get ready to interact and meet up with all your peers. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for listening.